Hi there, my name is Eric Hansen. I hope you're doing well. I'd like to create a response video to a article published in the Santa Barbara News Press, December 2nd, written by Lee Rosenberg. It was in the Op Ed section, titled "The Emperor Has No Clothes, a Cautionary Tale." And before I do that, I want to review with you quickly Hans Christian Andersen's story of The Emperor's New Clothes. I'm going to link it down below. I encourage you to read it. The original story is not so much about the emperor at all. It's about a feature common to our culture in America currently, and gosh darn it, I bet every culture, subculture, found around the world right now and historically. And that is, as described in the story, the trick the weavers used was they said, this fabric is so wonderful, it's so beautiful, but it's invisible to those who are unfit for office or increasingly stupid. That meant that every person who came in contact with the clothes, to protect themselves wherever they were in society, to protect their status and how others esteemed them, would pretend to see it. It wasn't until there was a child who spoke the obvious. He has no clothes. Well, the child wasn't worried about how others esteemed them. This is the wonderful from the mouths of babes. You know, children have a wonderful way of cutting right to the truth, the simple truth of things, don't they? And then the cat was out of the bag, and other people, as the story says, then other people were whispering, oh, the child said he has no clothes. Well, he has no clothes on. And that is, I think, where we find ourselves today. Now, this is, in my opinion, what I see is a growing number of people who take the time to look at 9/11, to take the time to look at history, current events, and we're seeing massive patterns of fraud, of deception, of trickery. It's not difficult to uncover. It's not with, I would say, a couple of months dedication. You could probably figure out for yourself that no airplanes were involved in 9/11. There were no hijackings. There were no plane crashes. It's not difficult. So there's this whisper among people who have said, you can call me stupid. I'm okay with you being upset with me. I'm okay with the perception that I'm an idiot. But it's patently obvious, and we can do this, and the evidence is there, and we can describe this, and we can talk about this, and it's very reasonable. And that whisper's growing. And so the choice is now for you and for anyone is, are they going to dig their heels in like the emperor at the end of the story and his retinue? Some other people of high prestige may dig their heels in and say, just keep going, just keep going. You know, don't listen to them, don't listen to the rabble. Or are you going to make the choice of speaking out of what is readily apparent? So I really like Lee Rosenberg. I like his style, and he and I, or she, I don't know, Lee Rosenberg. I'm sure Lee Rosenberg and I would agree on a great many things. Our value systems and what we care about are probably very closely aligned. But the writer does make reference to a number of things which I'll share with you are not based in reality. So, that being said, he makes reference to, quote, a rocket kingdom in the East. Continues to make rockets, unquote. Well, I believe that Lee Rosenberg's alluding to North Korea and nuclear weapons and ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles. There is both of those things do not exist in reality. So we, as people of peace, can again begin reframing our action and activity, knowing, oh, okay, nuclear weapons don't exist. We were lied to about Hiroshima, Nagasaki, nuclear arms deals, nuclear arms race, the Cold War, all those things. He writes, quote, the emperor's, embrace of brutality inspires bald-headed men. Rosenberg here, I believe, is alluding to the alt-right and the increase of white nationalism in America. Again, I encourage you to look into these things. That is, again, infiltrated, concocted, fictional movements and groups made up by Army reservists, people from the intelligence sector. Maybe there's a few misguided doofuses that get sucked into it. Have been duped, you know. But, for example, the Unite the Right rally that took place in Charlottesville, and then a man was said to have run down a woman named Heather Heyer, I believe her name was. Again, that car attack was fictional. No one was hurt, no one was killed. The Unite the Right rally was completely a government sham where, agent provocateur, dressed up in their little black football uniforms, painted shields. Complete ridiculousness. So, he says, quote, emulating past masters of violence, these men arm themselves with readily available weapons of unimaginable power and use them indiscriminately at commoners' churches and places of assembly. The allusion there, I believe, is probably to mass shootings in commoners' places of assembly and churches. Well, again, we know that say the church shooting in OSA Charleston, the Dillon Storm Roof event. No one was shot there. That's, again, phony baloney. You can look into that yourself. I encourage you to do so. Mass shootings are not a feature that occur, period. It's laughable to a person like myself because I've looked at, I'd say, more than half a dozen very closely and come to that conclusion myself. You can extrapolate from that these fake events would not be conducted if there was any worry, if there was even a small chance that someone would copycat and do a real one. these federal agencies and local agencies that participate in these events like Borderline, Pulse, Sandy Hook, San Bernardino, um, Aurora, any of these shootings, they would not take place if there was even a small chance that a person would legitimately say, I'm inspired by this, I'm going to copycat this. It's not even a possibility. It's not even in the realm of human possibility. I'm going to put it that way. Well, let's continue on. So he writes, and this is where I really disagree here. He writes, quote, "A little girl named Truth languishes in the basement of a great building in the midst of a glowing city." I do not believe that truth could ever be truly hidden. The truth is apparent and accessible to those who are willing to look and see. And I know that sounds perhaps prideful to say, but in my own experience, now in retrospect, I look backwards in behind me and I say, how was it that I ever did fall for this stuff? I sure did. I bought into it for a period of time. But it was right there, ready to be seen. It's available to anyone who wants to. Look at it with fresh eyes, with your intuition engaged, with critical thinking. You can do it. It's there. Truth is not hidden. He writes that when truth is released, quote, "Leeches who prosper in the emperor's court will be revealed and imprisoned," unquote. This is something I caution people against. There are some people that celebrate the idea of, well, once the truth about 9/11 is known, we're going to get these people in prison. We want to see indictments. We want to see people. No. The way forward is simply forgiving people who have participated in this, forgiving ourselves for having believed in it ourselves, and moving forward. Learning from all of our mistakes, forgiving people, and moving forward. That's it. He writes, quote, "Happiness will infuse the commoners. Flowers will grow in impossible places, and song will celebrate the new world," unquote. I disagree with that. I believe that with the truth of what's been occurring in history being revealed, that doesn't guarantee happiness and suddenly a new civic, this idyllic new society. It will only open us up to a new playing field of deciding how do we go forward from here. It will bring new problems. It will bring on a whole new set of discussion. It won't be immediate, the truth is here, the truth is out, wow, now we know about Sandy Hook, woo, now we know about World War I and World War II and Vietnam, and we got it all figured out, woo. No, it's going to be continuous hard work, the way it always is. We just are refining ourselves in the peace movement. We're just refining and refining and refining. So, it says, quote, "Someday when all commoners kneel with respect for the little girl, Truth, the empire will once again prosper and justice will prevail," unquote. Well, it may be that we'll say we don't need empire. Empire is not a natural or necessary circumstance to find in our lives. Maybe we want to find an entirely different new thing. why are there nations? Why are there nation states of the type that are parading themselves in this way, with imagined conflicts and phony wars? Maybe something new can be found. Lee Rosenberg finishes, quote, "This is a tale of caution, one that is precious and dangerous, one that calls upon the hearts and minds of all to reach for the keys that liberate truth from those whose evil desperation and grasping for power keep her imprisoned." Unquote. Well, in this journey, it does call upon our hearts and minds to approach these truths that we find ourselves in, to approach this culture that we find ourselves in a loving way. But I would say, again, to reiterate, truth is not imprisoned. We can know these things quite easily. It's available for us. There's many people like myself who are happy to share what we've learned. And gosh darn it, I don't have all the answers, and I don't think anyone does have a full grasp on all the answers. There's some things that I've figured out and other people have, and we can come together and say, oh, let's tweak this, and let's rework this. But I would say, for yourself, take it slow. Take one event, something that I've mentioned in this video, look into it for yourself. See if you can come to a conclusion that you're very happy with about 9/11 or nuclear weapons or mass shootings or any of those things. With patient dialogue and discourse, I think we're going to be able to figure this out. And it's going to be a wonderful thing. So, no matter where you are, I hope that you can speak your voice courageously, without fear. You're safe here with me. You can share with me anything that you'd like. Your voice is valuable. Your experience is valuable. And thanks for hearing me out. Lee Rosenberg, if you know him or Lee Rosenberg, you're yourself watching this, I'd love to hear from you. Have the feedback, because it was a very well written article. I appreciate that you wrote it into the news press there. Have a wonderful day. Take care, everybody.